Hello, gang. It's week 3. Welcome to my home. I'm doing this on Sunday, Valentine's Day. From my house, my family is on their way to Springfield to see Wicked. I had no desire to go see that. My wife and kids, they're all out of school tomorrow, so they headed south. I'm staying here, and I'm spending my Valentine's Day with you. So, glad to have you. Hope you're all having a great weekend. As a group, I want to tell you that you're doing a great job of keeping up with all the assignments. I do want to remind you, though, now listen, I know some of you might be thinking, geez, this class is a lot of work with the discussion boards and the assignments and the readings, and you're right, it is, because we don't meet 3 times a week for an hour, hour and 15 minutes a day. We have to do the work a lot on our own. You have a lot of it that's going to be your own reading, a lot of it working on your own assignments. It's practice, practice, practice. This is writing, and you have to do that to build those skills. I will promise you, though, if you'll stay with it, if you'll keep practicing, if you'll keep up with the readings, if you'll take note of the comments I make on your assignments, at the end of the semester, you will be a better writer. Your grades will be better. You will have more credibility. So hang in there. Stay with it, okay? All right. This week, we're going to shift gears for future writing. It's an opportunity to tell your human interest stories, your profile pieces, those types of things. For example, today, it is Valentine's Day. You could do a feature on the history of Valentine's Day. You could do a piece about a couple that's having their 60th wedding anniversary and celebrating 60 years together, a very romantic story. Or if you're a foodie, you could do a piece about different recipes for different romantic meals you could have to celebrate Valentine's Day. So think about the things that are going on and what kind of human interest pieces you could do, what kind of just very interesting stories. This is not hard news stories. They tend to be less timely. Now, of course, a Valentine's Day piece you're going to want to have around Valentine's Day, but you can get started on it earlier. You have more time to work on it. They tend to be a little bit longer than just hard news stories, and we don't write them in inverted pyramid. You'll get to that when you get into the readings this week. Again, we want to get readers or viewers with hard news. We want to keep them with soft news, and soft news is what feature stories are, okay? You don't have an assignment this week for the feature stories. That will be next week and the week after that. You do have your social media piece that is due this coming Sunday, February 21st by midnight, so make sure you get that in, okay? I have graded and returned all of your editing assignments that I received. Please, again, look over these and don't panic. Again, you get to take this over and over until you get 85%. That's how important these rules are. We need to get those applied. They're going to help you through this class and beyond. So make sure you're working on that. You have the multiple chances, take advantage of them. Although let's try and get it done in the second chance. I made highlights of what you got incorrect, and I gave you a note of where to go to get the correct answer. And as always, come see me if you don't understand. Also, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be adding some very useful grammar lessons to my weekly video. Just 2 or 3 rules each time, but once again, if you apply these, if you get these down, they're immediately going to make you a better writer, so go ahead and work on these. There will be no assignment with them. There will be no test, but I will be grading whenever I'm working on your when the assignments that you write, whether that's for the social media, whether that's your blog, whether that's your discussion board post. I will be grading to make sure that you're applying these each week, okay? So make sure you get them and make sure you apply them. All right? Okay. Without further ado, here we go. Incorrect comma in a series in AP style. That's grammar rule number 1. Use commas to separate the items in a series, but do not put a comma before and or at the end of a series unless the meaning would be unclear without the comma. Notice in the first example that a comma after sophisticated is unnecessary and therefore you shouldn't place one. In the second example, however, a comma before the and is necessary. Without it, you don't know if the salsa has jalapenos and onions, or salsa with jalapenos is one item and onions is another. Therefore, the comma is required in this case. Rule number 2, comma splices and run-on sentences. An independent clause is a sentence. It contains a subject and predicate and makes sense by itself. A run-on sentence, or comma splice, is when 2 or more sentences are joined incorrectly by a comma. As you can see, the incorrect example, we have 2 sentences. John Rogers left the family law practice is a complete sentence. So is he decided to become a teacher. Joining these 2 sentences then with a comma makes this sentence a comma splice, also known as a run-on sentence. We have 4 ways to fix the issue. You can, of course, replace the comma with a period and make it 2 sentences. Or you can keep the comma and insert a coordinating conjunction, because in this case, the two sentences are closely related. And the first he says what he is doing, the second explains why. Similarly, you can use a subordinating conjunction, but in this case, you do not include the comma. And finally, you can insert a semicolon in place of the comma, again to show how closely these two sentences relate. And rule number 3 is the opposite of rule number 2, the sentence fragment. Again, sentences must include a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. I ran is a complete sentence because it has a subject, I, and a verb, ran. And this is a complete thought. Even just the verb run can be considered a sentence because it has the understood you, as in you run, presumably because you have something big chasing you. But a fragment is a word group that lacks a subject, a verb, or both, yet is punctuated as though it were a sentence. You can see by the two incorrect examples that something important is missing. After she had placed her watch and an extra pencil on the table. Yes, what are we missing here? No complete thought in the first sentence. And in example 2, she apologized for hitting her brother, without feeling especially sorry about it. There's no subject in the second sentence, so therefore it is a sentence fragment. So how do you fix the problem? Simple. Correct by joining the fragment to the sentence before or after it by adding the missing elements so that the fragment contains a subject and a verb and can stand alone. So the correct example 1, after she had placed her watch and an extra pencil on the table, the student opened her test. You notice you join those two with a comma because you have an incomplete sentence joining with a complete sentence. And in correct example 2, she apologized to her brother for hitting him without feeling especially sorry about it. Here you don't need a comma at the second part because, well, it's not an introductory clause.